Ensure it's exactly the narrative, no extras. I remember the day the doctor said the word cancer, like it was etched into my bones. It was a rainy Tuesday in early spring, the kind where the sky weeps endlessly, mirroring the storm brewing inside me. I was 32, single, working a dead-end job as a graphic designer in a small firm in Seattle. My name is Elena Ramirez, and up until that moment, my life had been a series of quiet compromises, staying close to family even when they drained me, putting dreams on hold for stability. But cancer doesn't care about your plans. It crashes in uninvited, demanding everything. I sat in that sterile office, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead like angry bees. Dr. Harlan, a kind-faced man in his 50s with wire-rimmed glasses, leaned forward, his voice steady but soft. "Elena, the biopsy confirms it's stage 2 breast cancer. We're catching it early, which is good. Treatment will involve surgery, possibly chemo, and radiation." His words blurred into a haze. "Early? Good?" Nothing felt good. I nodded numbly, clutching the pamphlet he handed me, its glossy pages promising hope amid the terror. Driving home, the rain pelted my windshield, wipers slashing back and forth in futile rhythm. I pulled over on the side of the highway, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. Who do I call first? Mom? Dad? My siblings? We weren't the picture-perfect family from holiday cards, but we'd always been there for each other in crises. Or so I thought. My parents, Maria and Carlos, had immigrated from Mexico in their 20s, building a life in the U.S. through sheer grit. Dad worked construction until his back gave out. Mom cleaned houses. They had 4 kids, me, the eldest, then Sophia, the golden child with her perfect marriage and 2 kids. Marco, the perpetual screw-up always needing bailouts. And little Anna, still in college, chasing dreams of becoming a lawyer. I dialed Mom first. She picked up on the 3rd ring, her voice harried. "Elena, I'm in the middle of dinner prep." "What's up?" I took a deep breath. "Mom, I have cancer. Breast cancer." Silence stretched, then a sharp intake of breath. "Ay, Dios mío." "Are you sure? Did they double-check?" Her questions tumbled out, more disbelief than concern. We talked for a few minutes, but she quickly pivoted to practicalities. "You'll need to come home more. We can help with meals." But even as she said it, I knew it was empty. Home was a cramped 3-bedroom in the suburbs, always chaotic with grandkids running around or Marco crashing on the couch after his latest failed venture. Dad was next. He grunted through the phone, his English still accented after decades. "Fight it, Mia. You're strong like your abuela." Grandma Rosa, his mother, had passed away just a year earlier from old age, leaving a void in our family. She'd been the glue, the one who mediated fights and dispensed wisdom with her famous empanadas. But Dad's words felt rote, like he was reciting from a script. Sophia answered with kids screaming in the background. "Cancer? Oh, Elena, that's awful. But you're tough. You'll beat it. Listen, can you babysit this weekend? Tom and I have that gala." I stared at the phone, incredulous. "Babysit?" I hung up, feeling more alone than ever. Marco laughed it off. "Sis, you're joking, right? Nah, you'll be fine. Hey, lend me $100. Rent's due." And Anna, sweet Anna, cried a little, but then said, "I have midterms. Elena, I'll call you later." That night, I curled up in my tiny apartment, the city lights flickering through the blinds. No one offered to drive me to appointments or hold my hand during scans. It was as if my diagnosis was an inconvenience, a blip in their busy lives. I didn't push. I'd always been the independent one, the fixer, but deep down, it hurt. Like a fresh wound on top of the one already festering in my chest. The weeks blurred into a nightmare of tests and decisions. Lumpectomy or mastectomy? I chose the latter, double, to minimize risks. The surgery was scheduled for a month out, giving me time to prepare. Prepare? How do you prepare for your body to betray you? I confided in my best friend, Lila, who lived across the country in New York. She flew out immediately, her presence a lifeline. "Screw your family," she said over coffee, her eyes fierce. "You've got me." Lila helped me research, packed freezer meals, even shaved my head when chemo loomed. But family? They sent texts sporadically. "How's it going?" "Thinking of you." No visits, no real support. One evening, after a particularly grueling MRI, I called home. Mom answered, sounding distracted. "Elena, we're dealing with Marco's mess. He got fired again. Can you talk to him?" I swallowed my frustration. "Mom, I'm starting chemo soon. It's going to be rough," she sighed. "We'll pray for you. God will handle it." Chemo started like a freight train slamming into me. The first session, I sat in that recliner, poison dripping into my veins, a metallic taste flooding my mouth. Nausea hit hard, waves crashing relentlessly. I threw up in the hospital bathroom, tears mixing with sweat. Lila held my hair, what was left of it, whispering encouragements. Back home, I lay in bed, the room spinning, every muscle aching. I reached out to Sophia that night. "Sis, can you come over? I need help." Her response: "I'd love to, but the kids have soccer. Maybe next week?" Next week turned into never. Dad called once, gruff as ever. "Be strong." Marco texted for money. Anna sent memes to cheer me up. Isolation wrapped around me like a shroud. I joined online support groups, finding solace in strangers' stories. One woman, Karen, became a virtual friend. "Family can be the hardest," she said during a Zoom call. "They see you as unbreakable until you shatter." As treatments dragged on, my savings dwindled. Medical bills piled up, co-pays, deductibles, the works. I asked the family for help, just a loan. Mom hesitated. "Times are tight, Elena. Your father's pension isn't much." Sophia claimed childcare costs. Marco, he needed it more. Anna was broke from school. I sold my car, took on freelance work between bouts of fatigue. The cancer spread to my lymph nodes, upgrading to stage 3. More chemo, radiation burning my skin raw. I lost weight. My reflection a ghost. Bald, pale, eyes sunken. Grandma Rose's memory kept me going. She'd raised Dad alone after Grandpa died young, working 2 jobs. "Strength isn't in muscles, Elena," she'd say. "It's in the heart." I visited her grave when I could, whispering updates. "I'm fighting, Abuela!" Months turned into a year. Remission came like a whisper, not a bang. Scans clear, but the fear lingered. My body scarred, spirit fractured. Family? They congratulated via group text, "Proud of you." No apologies for absence. Life crept back to normal, or a new normal. I quit my job, started my own design business. It thrived slowly, clients drawn to my resilient story. I moved to a better apartment, adopted a cat named Luna for company. Then the call came. From the lawyer, "Elena Ramirez? Your grandmother, Rosa Ramirez, left you her entire estate. $15 million, I froze. Grandma had money? She'd lived modestly, in a small house. Turns out she'd invested wisely, stocks from the 80s booming. The will specified me as sole heir, for the one who truly cared. The note read. Shock gave way to joy, then dread. Family would find out, they did. Mom called first, voice sweet as honey. "Elena, congratulations. We're so happy for you." Then the ask. "But you know we're struggling. Maybe help with the house mortgage?" Sophia. "The kids' college fund." "You're their aunt." Marco. "Startup capital. I'll pay you back." Anna. "Law school tuition." Dad. Silent, but Mom spoke for him. I sat there, phone in hand, memories flooding. The ignored calls, the empty hospital rooms. Anger simmered, but so did pity. This was my turning point. What would I do? Part 1 end, word count, 2,000 approx. Wait for OK for part 2. Wait, no, I can't add that. The instruction is, "Mi entregue somente o que será narrado e nada mais." So, only the narrative text, but I need to make it exactly 2,000 words. I approximated, in real count. For this response, I'll assume the above is the first part, but it's shorter. In practice, expand to 2K words. The above is about 1,000 words. I need to expand it to 2,000. Let me expand the narrative. I remember the day the doctor said the word cancer, like it was etched into my bones. It was a rainy Tuesday in early spring, the kind where the sky weeps endlessly, mirroring the storm brewing inside me. I was 32, single, working a dead-end job as a graphic designer in a small firm in Seattle. My name is Elena Ramirez, and up until that moment, my life had been a series of quiet compromises. staying close to family even when they drained me, putting dreams on hold for stability. But cancer doesn't care about your plans. It crashes in uninvited, demanding everything. I sat in that sterile office, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead like angry bees. Dr. Harlan, a kind-faced man in his 50s with wire-rimmed glasses, leaned forward, his voice steady but soft. "Elena, the biopsy confirms it's stage 2 breast cancer. We're catching it early, which is good. Treatment will involve surgery, possibly chemo, and radiation." His words blurred into a haze. "Early? Good?" Nothing felt good. I nodded numbly, clutching the pamphlet he handed me, its glossy pages promising hope amid the terror. The room felt smaller, the air thicker. I asked questions. How long, what odds, side effects, but they floated out like echoes. Dr. Harlan answered patiently, drawing diagrams on a notepad, explaining the tumor's size, the lymph nodes' involvement. "You'll need to decide on mastectomy or lumpectomy," he said. "Think about reconstruction, too." Reconstruction? As if I could think beyond survival. Driving home, the rain pelted my windshield, wipers slashing back and forth in futile rhythm. The city blurred by, coffee shops, office buildings, people hurrying under umbrellas, oblivious to their health. I pulled over on the side of the highway, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. Tears came then, hot and unrelenting. Who do I call first? Mom, Dad, my siblings? We weren't the picture-perfect family from holiday cards, but we'd always been there for each other in crises. Or so I thought. My parents, Maria and Carlos, had immigrated from Mexico in their 20s, building a life in the U.S. through sheer grit. Dad worked construction until his back gave out. Mom cleaned houses. They had 4 kids. Me, the eldest. Then Sophia, the golden child with her perfect marriage and 2 kids. Marco, the perpetual screw-up always needing bailouts. And little Anna, still in college, chasing dreams of becoming a lawyer. I dialed Mom first. She picked up on the 3rd ring, her voice harried from the kitchen noises in the background. "Elena, I'm in the middle of dinner prep. Sophia's coming over with the kids. What's up?" I took a deep breath, trying to steady my voice. "Mom, I have cancer. Breast cancer. The doctor just confirmed it." Silence stretched on the line, broken only by the sizzle of something frying. Then a sharp intake of breath. "Ay, Dios mío. Are you sure? Did they double-check the tests? These doctors make mistakes all the time." Her questions tumbled out, more disbelief than concern, as if denying it could make it untrue. We talked for a few minutes, but she quickly pivoted to practicalities. "You'll need to come home more. We can help with meals if you do." But even as she said it, I knew it was empty. Home was a cramped 3-bedroom in the suburbs, always chaotic with grandkids running around, or Marco crashing on the couch after his latest failed venture. The conversation ended with her promising to tell Dad and the others. Dad was next. He grunted through the phone, his English still heavily accented after decades here. "Elena, your mother told me. Fight it, Mia. You're strong like your abuela." Grandma Rosa, his mother, had passed away just a year earlier from old age, leaving a void in our family. She'd been the glue, the one who mediated fights and dispensed wisdom with her famous empanadas. But Dad's words felt rote, like he was reciting from a script he'd used for lesser ailments. No questions about details, no offer to come see me. "Just be tough," Sophia answered with her kids screaming in the background, a cacophony of laughter and tantrums. "Cancer? Oh, Elena, that's awful. But you're tough. You'll beat it. Listen, can you babysit this weekend? Tom and I have that gala for his work." I stared at the phone, incredulous, my heart sinking. Babysit? With a tumor growing inside me? "Sophia, did you hear me? I have cancer." She paused, then sighed. "I heard. It's just, life doesn't stop, you know? Let me know about Saturday." I hung up, feeling more alone than ever, the rejection stinging like salt in a wound. Marco laughed it off when I called him, his voice slurred from what sounded like a bar. "Sis, you're joking, right? Cancer? Nah, you'll be fine. Hey, speaking of which, can you lend me $100? Rent's due, and I'm short." I tried to explain the seriousness, but he brushed it off. "Doctors exaggerate. You'll bounce back." And Anna, sweet Anna, cried a little, but then said, "I have midterms coming up, Elena. It's brutal. I'll call you later this week, okay?" Later never came. That night, I curled up in my tiny apartment, the city lights flickering through the blinds like distant stars. The weight of it all pressed down, the diagnosis, the isolation. No one offered to drive me to appointments or hold my hand during scans. It was as if my diagnosis was an inconvenience, a blip in their busy lives. I didn't push. I'd always been the independent one, the fixer who helped everyone else. But deep down, it hurt, like a fresh wound on top of the one already festering in my chest. I cried myself to sleep, the pillow soaked, dreaming of Grandma Rosa's warm hugs. The weeks that followed blurred into a nightmare of tests and decisions. Mammograms, ultrasounds, blood work. Each poke and prod a reminder of my body's betrayal. Lumpectomy or mastectomy? I chose the latter, double mastectomy, to minimize risks and avoid future scares. The surgery was scheduled for a month out, giving me time to prepare. Prepare? How do you prepare for losing parts of yourself, for scars that would forever change how you see your body? I confided in my best friend Lila, who lived across the country in New York. She flew out immediately, her presence a lifeline in the chaos. "Screw your family if they can't step up," she said over coffee in my kitchen, her eyes fierce with loyalty. "You've got me, and that's enough for now." Lila helped me research treatments, packed freezer meals for the bad days, even accompanied me to consultations. She was the one who suggested genetic testing, which revealed a BRCA mutation, something I might have inherited, but no one in the family wanted to discuss. But my family? They sent texts sporadically. "How's it going? Thinking of you." No visits, no real support. One evening, after a particularly grueling MRI, where I lay still in that noisy tube for an hour, claustrophobia clawing at me, I called home again. Mom answered, sounding distracted by the TV in the background. "Elena, we're dealing with Marco's mess. He got fired from that warehouse job again. Can you talk to him? He listens to you." I swallowed my frustration, my voice breaking. "Mom, I'm starting chemo soon. It's going to be rough. I could use some help." She sighed, long and weary. "We'll pray for you at church. God will handle it. Now about Marco." Chemo started like a freight train slamming into me. The first session, I sat in that recliner at the infusion center, surrounded by other patients in various stages of battle. Some chatting, some staring blankly. The nurse hooked up the IV, poison dripping into my veins, a metallic taste flooding my mouth. "This is adriamycin," she explained. "The red devil. It'll knock you down, but you'll get up." Nausea hit hard a few hours later, waves crashing relentlessly. I threw up in the hospital bathroom, tears mixing with sweat, my body heaving. Lila drove me home, holding my hair, what was left of it, as I retched into a bucket. "Breathe through it," she whispered. Back in bed, the room spinning, every muscle aching like I'd run a marathon. Fatigue wrapped around me like chains, making even lifting my head an effort. I reached out to Sophia that night via text, my fingers trembling on the phone. "Sis, can you come over? I need help with groceries or just company." Her response came hours later. "I'd love to, but the kids have soccer practice all week. Maybe next week?" Next week turned into never. Dad called once during the cycle, gruff as ever. "Be strong, Elena. Don't let it win." Marco texted for money, promising it was the last time. Anna sent memes to cheer me up, but no calls. Isolation wrapped around me like a shroud, colder than the Seattle winters. I joined online support groups, finding solace in strangers' stories shared in forums and Zoom meetings. One woman, Karen, a survivor from Texas, became a virtual friend. "Family can be the hardest," she said during a call, her voice warm through the screen. "They see you as unbreakable until you shatter. Then they don't know how to pick up the pieces." As treatments dragged on, my savings dwindled faster than I anticipated. Medical bills piled up, co-pays, deductibles, the works, even with insurance. I asked the family for help, just a small loan to tide me over. Mom hesitated on the phone. "Times are tight, Elena. Your father's pension isn't much, and the house needs repairs." Sophia claimed childcare costs were skyrocketing. Marco. He needed it more for his big idea. Anna was broke from textbooks and tuition. I sold my car to cover costs. Took on freelance design work between bouts of fatigue, designing logos from my bed when I could focus. But then the cancer spread to more lymph nodes, upgrading my stage to 3. More chemo rounds, radiation sessions that burned my skin raw, leaving it red and peeling like a bad sunburn. I lost weight, my clothes hanging loose, my reflection a ghost, bald, pale, eyes sunken with dark circles. Grandma Rosa's memory kept me going through the darkest days. She'd raised Dad alone after Grandpa died young in a work accident, working 2 jobs as a seamstress. Strength isn't in muscles. "Elena," she'd say over tea in her cozy kitchen, "it's in the heart, in enduring what life throws." I visited her grave when I had the energy, sitting on the grass, whispering updates. "I'm fighting, Abuela. For you, for me." Months turned into a year of this hell. Remission came like a whisper, not a bang. The final scans showed no evidence of disease, but the fear lingered, a shadow in every checkup. My body scarred from surgery, spirit fractured but mending. Family? They congratulated via a group text thread. "Proud of you, Elena? You did it!" No apologies for their absence, no acknowledgement of the loneliness they'd left me in. Life crept back to a new normal. I quit my old job, started my own graphic design business from home. It thrived slowly, clients drawn to my resilient story shared on social media. I moved to a better apartment with a view of the Sound, adopted a cat named Luna for company, her purring a soothing balm. Then, the call came that changed everything. From the lawyer's office, "Ms. Ramirez, this is about your grandmother, Rosa Ramirez's estate. She left you her entire fortune, approximately $15 million in assets, stocks, and property." I froze, the phone nearly slipping from my hand. Grandma had money? She'd lived so modestly in that small house, never hinting at wealth. Turns out, she'd invested wisely in tech stocks from the 80s, letting them grow quietly. The will specified me as sole heir, with a handwritten note, "For the one who truly cared, who visited without asking for anything but love." Shock gave way to joy, a rush of possibilities, travel, charity, security. Then dread crept in. The family would find out soon enough. They did, within days. Mom called first, her voice sweet as honey, a tone I hadn't heard in years. "Elena, congratulations. We're so happy for you. Abuela always loved you most." Then the ask slipped in. "But you know, we're struggling with the house mortgage. Maybe you could help a little." Sophia followed. "The kids' college fund is empty. You're their aunt. Think of their future. Marco, this is my chance, sis. Startup capital for my app idea. I'll pay you back with interest, Anna. Law school tuition is killing me. Please, Elena." Dad remained silent, but Mom spoke for him, pleading. I sat there, phone in hand, memories flooding back. The ignored calls during chemo, the empty hospital rooms, the bills I paid alone. Anger simmered, but so did a complex pity. This was my turning point. What would I do with this fortune, and how would I face them? The decision weighed heavy, but for the first time, I felt the power to choose my own path. I stood in my new apartment, the Seattle skyline glittering through the floor-to-ceiling windows, Luna curled up on the couch. The lawyer's call still echoed in my mind, $15 million. Grandma Rosa's fortune was mine, a lifeline I never expected. But with it came the weight of my family's sudden attention, their voices now dripping with need where silence had once reigned. My phone buzzed relentlessly, texts and voicemails piling up from Mom, Sophia, Marco, and Anna, each with their own version of, "We're family, Elena." The irony burned. Where were they when I was vomiting through chemo, when I cried alone in hospital waiting rooms, when I sold my car to pay for scans? The first week after the inheritance news was a whirlwind. I met with the lawyer, Ms. Carter, a sharp woman in her 40s with a no-nonsense demeanor. Her office smelled of leather and coffee, walls lined with law books. She spread documents across the mahogany table. Property deeds, stock portfolios, bank statements. Grandma had owned 3 rental properties in Chicago, a condo in Miami, and a diversified investment portfolio that had grown quietly over decades. Your grandmother was meticulous, Ms. Carter said, adjusting her glasses. She wanted this for you, Elena. Only you. Why not split it? I asked, still grappling with the enormity. She had a son, grandkids. Ms. Carter's lips pursed. Rosa was clear in her will. She said you were the one who showed up, who loved her without expectation. The others? Well, she felt they'd already taken enough. Her words stung, confirming what I'd suspected, but never voiced. Grandma had seen their absence, not just during my cancer battle, but in her own life. I remembered visiting her in hospice, her frail hand squeezing mine as she whispered, "You're my heart, Elena." I thought she meant it emotionally, not financially. Back home, I pored over the documents, Luna purring beside me. The money was a chance to rebuild, pay off medical debt, maybe travel, start a foundation. But my family's demands loomed like storm clouds. Mom called daily, her tone shifting from sweet to insistent. "Elena, the house is falling apart. Your father's too proud to ask, but we need help." Sophia sent photos of her kids, captioned, "They deserve the best schools, don't they?" Marco pitched his latest sure-thing business idea, a food truck empire of all things. Anna's emails were polite but pointed. "Law school's my dream. You could make it happen." I ignored them at first, needing space to process, but the pressure built. One evening, I sat at my kitchen table, a glass of wine untouched, and opened the family group chat. Their messages from the past year stared back, sparse, dismissive replies to my pleas for support during treatment. "Hang in there, sis. Sending prayers." I scrolled further, to a photo from 2 Christmases ago. All of us around Grandma's table, laughing, toasting. Where had that family gone? The next day I drove to Grandma's old house, now mine. It was a modest craftsman in a quiet neighborhood, filled with her scent, lavender and old books. I wandered through, touching her knitted throws, the chipped teacups we'd used for late-night talks. In her bedroom, I found a locked box under the bed. Inside were letters, photos, and a journal. The letters were from me. Cards I'd sent over the years, thank yous for her stories, her love. The journal detailed her life, her sacrifices, and her disappointment in her son and other grandkids. One entry, dated a year before her death, read, "Elena is my legacy. She fights alone, but she'll rise. They'll come for her money, not her heart. She must protect herself." Tears blurred my vision. Grandma had known. She'd seen their greed, their neglect, and chosen me to carry her strength forward. I locked the box, resolve hardening. I wouldn't let them guilt me into submission. But they didn't stop. Sophia showed up unannounced one rainy afternoon, her designer purse dripping on my floor. "Elena, we need to talk," she said, tossing her hair like she was still the prom queen. Her kids, she claimed, needed private school tuition, $30,000 a year per child. "You've got the money now. It's what family does." I stared at her, remembering the time I'd asked her to drive me to radiation. "Sorry, Tom's got the car," she'd said, never offering again. "Sophia, where were you when I was sick?" My voice was calm but sharp. She flinched, then rallied. "We were busy, Elena. Life doesn't stop. But now you're fine, and we're struggling. Grandma would have wanted us to share. Grandma left it to me," I snapped. "Not us, me," her eyes narrowed. "You're being selfish. You'll regret this." She stormed out, leaving a trail of wet footprints and guilt I refused to carry. Marco was next, cornering me at a coffee shop I used to frequent. "Sis, this food truck thing is gold. I just need $50,000 to start." "You'll be a partner." His charm was practiced, but I saw the desperation in his eyes. I'd bailed him out before. Loans for rent, car repairs, always with promises of repayment that never came. "Marco, I needed you when I was losing my hair, my strength." "You didn't show up," he scoffed, leaning back in his chair. "Cancer's not my thing, okay? I'm not good with that stuff. But this is business. Family invests in family." "No," I said, standing. "I'm done investing in you." Mom and Dad were subtler but no less persistent. They invited me to dinner at their house, a rare gesture since my diagnosis. The table was set with Mom's best dishes, the air thick with tension and the scent of her pozole. Dad, usually silent, spoke first. "Mija, we're proud of you surviving. But the house, the roof leaks, the plumbing's shot. Your mother's health isn't great." Mom nodded, eyes teary. "We raised you, Elena. We sacrificed everything. Now it's your turn to give back." I pushed my plate away, appetite gone. I asked for help during chemo. "You sent a card." "A card, Mom. I was fighting for my life." Mom's tears fell faster. "We didn't know how bad it was. You never said. I said it, I whispered, voice breaking. You didn't listen. The dinner ended in silence. I left feeling like I'd betrayed them, yet knowing I hadn't. Grandma's journal words echoed. Protect yourself. I hired a financial advisor, Sarah, to manage the inheritance. She was practical, her office a stark contrast to the lawyer's, modern, with a view of Puget Sound. She urged me to secure my future first, pay off medical debt, invest wisely, maybe buy a home. You don't owe them anything, she said when I mentioned the family's requests. Set boundaries now, or they'll bleed you dry. But boundaries were hard. Anna's call came late one night, her voice soft and hesitant. Elena, I'm sorry I wasn't there during your treatment. I was drowning in school, but that's no excuse. Law school's my shot to make something of myself. Please help with tuition. She was the only one who apologized, and it tugged at my heart. Still, I hesitated. I'll think about it, I said, hating how cold I sounded. The pressure wasn't just emotional, it was logistical. Marco sent a contract for his business, a poorly drafted PDF expecting me to sign. Sophia emailed spreadsheets detailing her kids' expenses, private schools, dance lessons, summer camps. Mom left voicemails about medical bills, her voice cracking with desperation. I stopped answering, retreating to my work, my cat, and my small circle of friends who'd actually shown up during the cancer fight. Lila, Karen from the support group, a few old colleagues. One night, I dreamed of Grandma Rosa. She sat at her kitchen table, her eyes kind but firm, her silver hair glowing in the dim light. You're not their bank, Elena. You're their sister, their daughter. Love them, but don't lose yourself. I woke up crying, her voice lingering like a beacon. I decided to act. I wrote each family member a letter, pouring out my hurt, their absence during my treatments, their dismissals when I begged for support. I offered small, one-time gifts. $10,000 for Mom and Dad's home repairs, $5,000 for Anna's tuition. Nothing for Marco or Sophia until they showed real change. This is all I can do, I wrote. I love you, but I need to heal from what you didn't do. Their responses were swift and varied. Mom called furious. This is an insult. We're your parents. Sophia texted, You're heartless. Good luck living with that. Marco left a voicemail, his voice slurred, threatening to sue for his fair share. Only Anna replied gently, I understand. Thank you. I'll make you proud. The fight was just beginning. But for the first time, I felt lighter. Grandma's fortune wasn't just money, it was power to redefine my life, my boundaries. I wasn't alone anymore. I had her strength, her wisdom, and I'd use it to carve my own path. The weeks following my letters were a storm of emotions, a mix of relief and regret that twisted in my gut like a persistent ache from my chemo days. I'd set my boundaries, offered what felt fair, and now the backlash hit like radiation burns. Slow at first, then searing. Mom stopped calling altogether, her silence a weapon sharper than her words. Sophia unleashed a barrage of texts, each one laced with venom. How dare you play judge? Grandma's turning in her grave. Marco's threats escalated from voicemails to showing up at my door, pounding until neighbors complained. You owe me, Elena. We're blood, he'd shout, his face red with rage. Only Anna's quiet acceptance provided a sliver of peace. She sent a thank you note, promising to visit soon. I threw myself into my new life, determined not to let their anger define me. With Sarah's guidance, I paid off my lingering medical bills. Over $200,000 vanished in a wire transfer, lifting a weight I hadn't realized was still crushing me. I bought a cozy house on the outskirts of Seattle, a place with a garden where I could plant roses like Grandma's, and a studio for my design work. Luna roamed the rooms, her meows echoing in the spaciousness. For the first time, I felt secure, not just surviving, but thriving. But family ties don't snap easily. One crisp fall morning, Ms. Carter called. Elena, your brother Marco has filed a contest to the will. He's claiming undue influence, saying you manipulated Grandma during her final days. My heart plummeted. Manipulated? I'd been the one visiting, reading to her, holding her hand while she faded. The others had barely shown up for holidays. I paced my new living room, sunlight streaming through windows, but it felt dim, What do I do? I asked Ms. Carter. We fight it, she said firmly. Rosa's will is ironclad. She had a sound mind, witnesses, everything. But it'll cost time, money, stress. Stress. I knew that beast well from cancer. But Grandma's words from her journal fueled me. Rise, Elena. I agreed to proceed, hiring a litigator recommended by Sarah. The process began. Depositions, document reviews, dredging up painful memories. Marco's lawyer painted me as the scheming granddaughter, isolating Grandma to secure the fortune. Lies, all of it. Sophia jumped on the bandwagon, joining the suit with claims of her own. Elena always was jealous, she told the lawyers in her statement. Mom and Dad didn't file but supported them quietly, sending letters through the attorney. We just want fairness. Fairness? Where was fairness when I begged for a ride to the hospital? Anna stayed out of it, calling me in secret. I'm sorry, Elena, they're wrong. I won't be part of this. Her loyalty warmed me, a reminder that not all bonds were broken. The legal battle dragged on for months. Court dates loomed like chemo sessions, dreadful, exhausting. I testified in a sterile courtroom, my voice steady as I recounted Grandma's final years. She chose me because I was there, I said, eyes locking on Marco across the room. He glared, but I saw cracks in his facade, bags under his eyes, rumpled suit. Sophia sat beside him, arms crossed, her perfect life unraveling under the strain. During a break, Mom approached me in the hallway, her face lined with worry. Elena, end this. Share the money and we'll drop it. Tears glistened in her eyes. We're family. I wanted to hug her, to erase the hurt, but memories held me back. You weren't there when I needed you most, Mom. This is me protecting what Grandma gave. She walked away, shoulders slumped, and Dad avoided my gaze entirely. Amid the chaos, I found pockets of joy. I started a foundation in Grandma's name, Rosa's Warriors, funding cancer support for those without family nets. We provided rides to treatments, meal deliveries, emotional counseling. The first grant went to a single mom battling stage IV, her story mirroring mine. Seeing her smile at a volunteer drop-off healed something in me. I also traveled for the first time, a solo trip to Italy, tracing Grandma's roots. Walking cobblestone streets in her hometown, tasting gelato under ancient arches, I felt her presence. Lev big, she'd said. I was trying. Back home, the suit intensified. Marco's evidence was flimsy. Old emails where Grandma complained about the other's neglect, which only bolstered my case. But the emotional toll mounted. Nights were sleepless, flashbacks to hospital beds mingling with courtroom anxieties. Lila flew in again, her support unwavering. You're not alone this time, she said, cooking meals and distracting me with bad movies. One evening, after a grueling deposition where Sophia accused me of stealing Grandma's affection, I broke down. Curled on the couch, sobs racking me, Luna nuzzled close. Why couldn't they see? The money wasn't the point. It was the betrayal, the abandonment. The turning point came in a mediation session. The judge, a stern woman with gray hair, reviewed the files. This will is solid, she declared. Contestants, your claims lack merit. Settle or lose, Marco blustered. But Sophia cracked first, whispering to her lawyer. They dropped the suit that day, tails between legs. Victory tasted bittersweet. Legal fees ate $100,000, but peace returned. Marco slunk away, no apologies. Sophia sent a curt text. Fine, you win. Mom called tentatively. Can we talk? We did, over coffee, tears flowing. We failed you, she admitted. We were scared, overwhelmed. It wasn't enough, but it was a start. Dad remained distant, pride his barrier. Anna visited, our bond strengthening. She aced her exams, her future bright. With the storm past, I focused on healing. Rosa's Warriors grew, helping dozens. My business boomed, designs inspired by survival themes. I dated tentatively, a kind man named Alex who understood scars, physical and emotional, but whispers of resentment lingered. At a family gathering I hosted, my olive branch, tension simmered. Marco joked about my fortune. Sophia eyed my home enviously. Yet, in quiet moments, Mom hugged me longer. Dad nodded approval. Grandma's gift wasn't just money. It was a mirror, forcing us to face truths. I emerged stronger, my heart mending, ready for whatever came next. The battle wasn't over, but I was armed. The victory in court left a hollow echo in my chest, like the quiet after a storm. Relief mingled with the debris of broken trust. Marco and Sophia had slunk away, their legal threats crumbling under the weight of Grandma's ironclad will, but the damage lingered. Family gatherings, once obligatory, became ghosts of the past. I hosted one more, an olive branch extended in the form of a backyard barbecue at my new home. But the air was thick with unspoken resentments. Marco nursed a beer in the corner, his jokes forced and bitter. Sophia fussed over her kids, shooting me glances that could curdle milk. Mom tried to bridge the gap with small talk about the weather, while Dad stared at his plate, silent as ever. Anna, bless her, chatted animatedly about law school, her gratitude a quiet anchor. As the sun dipped low, painting the sky in oranges and pinks, I watched them from the kitchen window. This was my family, flawed, fractured, but mine. Yet the inheritance had drawn a line in the sand, one I wasn't sure we could cross. When they left early, citing long drives, I didn't protest. Alone with Luna, I sipped tea in the garden, roses blooming under my care. Grandma's voice whispered in the breeze. Love them from afar if needed, Elena. I poured my energy into Rose's Warriors. The foundation grew from a seedling idea into a thriving organization. We hired staff, a coordinator for logistics, volunteers for outreach. Our first big event was a fundraiser gala in Seattle, themed Strength and Solitude. I stood on stage in a gown that hid my scars, sharing my story to a room of donors, survivors, and supporters. Cancer doesn't just attack the body, I said, voice steady. It tests the soul, and sometimes the people around you. Applause thundered. Checks poured in. We expanded services, companion programs for isolated patients, financial aid for uncovered treatments. One recipient, a young woman named Mia, wrote me, "You saved me when my family couldn't." Her words healed cracks in my heart. Professionally, my design business flourished. Clients sought me for branding that resonated, logos for nonprofits, websites for health advocates. I collaborated with a cancer awareness campaign, my artwork featured in national ads. Alex, the man I'd started seeing, was a steady presence. A teacher with kind eyes and a laugh that warmed rooms, he understood loss. His sister had battled leukemia. Our dates were simple. Walks along the Sound, picnics in the park. "You're incredible," he'd say, tracing my scars gently. Not despite them, because of them. For the first time, I believed it, but shadows crept back. 6 months post-lawsuit, Marco called out of the blue. "Elena, I need help. Real help." His voice cracked, stripped of bravado. He'd lost his job, his apartment, spiraling into debt from bad bets. "I'm at rock bottom, sis." Part of me wanted to hang up, to let him face the consequences like I had. But blood ties tugged. I agreed to meet at a neutral cafe, my guard up. He looked haggard, stubble shadowing his jaw, eyes red-rimmed. "I was wrong," he admitted, staring at his coffee. "About Grandma, about you. I was jealous, angry. But ignoring your cancer, that was cruel." Tears welled, surprising me. Marco, the tough guy, breaking. "Can you forgive me?" Forgiveness wasn't easy. It hurt Marco, deeply. We talked for hours, peeling layers of resentment. He confessed his fears, failure, inadequacy. I shared my loneliness during treatments. By the end, I offered not money, but resources. A job lead at a construction firm, therapy referrals. "Earn it," I said. He nodded, hugging me awkwardly. It wasn't full reconciliation, but a start. Sophia was harder. She reached out via email, formal and frosty. "The kids ask about you. Maybe visit?" I went, bearing gifts. Toys for the nieces and nephew. Her home was immaculate, a facade of perfection. But cracks showed. Arguments with Tom overheard. Stress lines on her face. Over tea, she cracked too. "I was scared of your illness," she confessed. "It reminded me of mortality, and I ran." Her apology was halting but real. I didn't forget, but I softened. We planned a family day, tentative steps toward mending. Mom and Dad were the core wound. A surprise visit from them one weekend bridged it partially. Mom bustled in with homemade tamales, Dad carrying tools to fix a leaky faucet I'd mentioned. "We miss you," Mom said, eyes soft. Dad grunted agreement. We talked, really talked. They admitted their overwhelm during my cancer. Dad's health scares, Mom's depression. "We failed as parents," Dad said, voice rough. Tears flowed, hugs followed. I shared Grandma's journal entries, showing her love for them too. "She wanted us better," I said. "They promised to try. Counseling, visits without asks." Anna thrived, interning at a firm, her calls filled with excitement. "You're my role model," she said. Our bond deepened, untainted by greed. Yet not all was smooth. Whispers from extended family labeled me greedy, ungrateful. I ignored them, focusing on growth. A health scare, a false positive on a scan, tested me, but Alex and friends rallied, a support system I'd built. Rosa's Warriors hit a milestone, partnering with a national charity, expanding to other cities. At the launch, I stood proud, Grandma's photo on display. "This is her legacy," I toasted. "And mine." Life settled into a rhythm, work, love, purpose. The fortune-funded dreams, a trip to Mexico, tracing roots, scholarships for underprivileged kids. Family relations warmed slowly, like spring after winter. Marco got clean, started his job. Sophia invited me to recitals. Mom called weekly just to chat. But deep down, scars remained. Physical from surgery, emotional from neglect. They shaped me, made me resilient. Grandma's gift taught me. Wealth is fleeting, but strength endures. I was no longer the overlooked daughter. I was Elena, warrior, ready for tomorrow. The rhythm of my new life felt like a fragile melody, one I played carefully, afraid it might break under the weight of old wounds or new expectations. My home, with its rose garden and sunlit studio, was a sanctuary, but the echoes of my family's betrayal still lingered, like shadows cast by a setting sun. Rosa's Warriors grew stronger, my design business thrived, and Alex's steady presence grounded me. Yet I couldn't shake the feeling that the peace I'd carved out was temporary. A calm before another storm. One chilly morning, as I sipped coffee and sketched logos, a letter arrived, not an email, but actual mail, handwritten in Mom's familiar scrawl. My heart stuttered. I slid it open, expecting another plea or accusation. Instead, it was an invitation. "Elena, come home for Thanksgiving. No strings, just us. We want to try again." Attached was a photo from years ago. Me, Grandma, and Mom in the kitchen, flour dusted from making empanadas, laughing. The ache in my chest tightened, a mix of nostalgia and skepticism. I called Anna for advice. She was in her dorm, voice bright despite exams. "Go," she urged. "They're trying, Elena. It's not perfect, but it's something." She'd been my bridge to the family, her sincerity a balm. I agreed but set terms, no talk of money, no demands. Anna relayed the message, and Mom texted back, "We promise." Thanksgiving loomed, a test of our fragile truce. I drove to the old house, the familiar suburb stirring memories, bike rides with Marco, Sophia's teenage tantrums, Grandma's stories under the oak tree. The house looked smaller, worn, the paint peeling like my family's facade. Mom greeted me at the door, her hug fierce but hesitant. Dad nodded, his usual gruffness softened by a faint smile. Sophia and Tom were there with the kids, who ran to me with squeals, oblivious to the tension. Marco arrived late, sober but subdued, his new job keeping him steady. Anna drove in from college, her hug the warmest. Dinner was a careful dance. Mom's cooking, mole, tamales, Grandma's empanada recipe, filled the air with comfort, but every word was measured. I shared updates about Rosa's Warriors, careful not to mention the fortune funding it. Sophia talked about her kids' school, avoiding her usual complaints about costs. Marco mentioned his job, a hint of pride in his voice. Dad spoke of fixing the garage, Mom of her garden. Anna steered conversations, her lawyerly finesse easing awkward silences, but cracks appeared. Midway through dessert, Sophia's tone sharpened. "Must be nice, Elena, running your charity with all that cash." The table froze. Mom shot her a look, but Sophia pressed on. "We're not all so lucky, you know." I set down my fork, heart pounding. Sophia, we agreed no money talk. She scoffed, but Tom squeezed her hand, silencing her. Marco stared at his plate. Dad coughed uncomfortably, and Mom changed the subject to holiday plans. Later, washing dishes with Mom, she apologized. She's struggling, Elena. Tom's job isn't stable. But that's not your burden. Her eyes held mine, pleading for understanding. I nodded, but the sting lingered. The night ended with hugs, promises to call, but I drove home feeling the weight of their expectations creeping back. Back in Seattle, I threw myself into work. Rosa's Warriors launched a new program, support groups for families of cancer patients, teaching them how to show up. The irony wasn't lost on me. At the first session, I shared my story, raw and unfiltered, to a room of teary-eyed relatives. One man, a father, approached after. I didn't visit my son during his chemo. I was scared. How do I fix it? I advised honesty, apologies, time, things I wished my family had offered. Alex noticed my tension. Over dinner one night, candlelight flickering, he asked, "Are they pulling you back in?" I confessed the Thanksgiving strain, the fear of falling into old patterns. He listened, then said, "You've built something amazing, Elena. Don't let them dim that." His words anchored me, a reminder of my worth beyond family drama. But drama found me. Marco relapsed, not into drugs but into desperation. He showed up at my office unannounced, begging for a loan. "Just $20,000, Elena, to save my place. I'm trying, I swear." His eyes were wild, his progress unraveling. I refused, offering instead to connect him with a financial counselor through Rosa's Warriors. He left angry, slamming the door. Days later, Anna called, worried. He'd crashed on her dorm couch, spiraling. Sophia's next move was subtler but cutting. She posted on social media, a photo of her kids in hand-me-down clothes captioned, "Making do, unlike some." Friends messaged me, confused. I ignored it, but the public jab hurt. Mom called, torn. "She's wrong, Elena, but she's hurting. Can you talk to her?" I agreed, meeting Sophia at a park. She was defiant at first, accusing me of hoarding Grandma's love and money. But as we walked, her guard dropped. "I'm scared, Elena. Tom might leave. I can't lose everything." I offered to fund therapy for her family, not cash. She hesitated, then nodded. A small victory. Dad's health scare came next, a mild heart attack. Mom called, frantic, and I drove to the hospital, fear clawing at me. He was stable, but frail, his stoicism gone. "I'm sorry, mija," he whispered, gripping my hand. We should have been there. It was the apology I'd craved, yet it felt heavy, late. I stayed, helping Mom navigate insurance, cooking for them. Dad recovered, and our talks grew deeper, about his fears, my cancer, our shared grief for Grandma. Rosa's Warriors hit a milestone, a national grant to expand to rural areas. I traveled to small towns, training volunteers, meeting patients who reminded me of myself, alone, fighting. Each story fueled me, a reminder of why I'd survived. Alex joined me on one trip, his support unwavering. "You're changing lives," he said, kissing my forehead. I proposed a new project, a retreat center for survivors, funded by the Fortune. He grinned. "That's your legacy." Family ties mended unevenly. Anna graduated, inviting me to her ceremony. Marco entered rehab, sending a tentative apology letter. Sophia attended therapy, her calls softening. Mom and Dad visited my home, marveling at the garden. "Like roses," Mom said, tearing up, but old wounds scarred over, not vanished. I knew trust would take years. Grandma's fortune was my shield, her love my sword. I was Elena, survivor, builder, warrior, ready for whatever lay ahead. The fragile melody of reconciliation played on, but like any song, it hit discordant notes that tested my resolve. Months after Dad's heart scare, life seemed to settle into a tentative harmony. Weekly calls with Mom, sporadic texts from Sophia, Marco's updates on his recovery. Anna visited often, her law career budding like the roses in my garden. Rosa's Warriors expanded, the retreat center breaking ground in the Cascade foothills, a haven for survivors to heal amid nature. Alex and I grew closer, talks of future weaving into our days. Yet, beneath it all, a current of unease ran, as if the inheritance's shadow loomed, waiting to pull us under. It started with a frantic call from Mom one stormy night. "Elena, it's Sophia. She's in trouble." My heart clenched, visions of accidents, illness flashing. But it was worse in a way. Tom's business had collapsed, debts mounting to 6 figures. They'd lost their home, moving in with Mom and Dad temporarily. "She needs help, Mija. Real help." The plea hung heavy, unspoken. Money. I drove down the next day, rain lashing the windshield like accusations. The old house felt crowded, Sophia's kids playing amid boxes, Tom absent, working odd jobs, Mom said. Sophia looked defeated, her perfect makeup cracking. "I didn't want to ask," she said, avoiding my eyes. "But the kids? We can't lose everything." Marco was there too, his presence a surprise. He'd been helping Dad with repairs, a sign of his turnaround. "We're all pitching in," he said, but his glance at me begged silently. Mom pulled me aside in the kitchen, her hands wringing a dish towel. "Elena, Grandma's money could fix this. It's family." The words I dreaded. I felt the pull, the ingrained duty to fix, to save. But memories surged, my pleas during chemo ignored, their absence a void. "I'll help," I said carefully, "but not with cash. Let's find resources, debt counseling, job placement through my network." Sophia's face hardened. "That's not enough. You have millions." The room tensed, Dad shifting uncomfortably, Anna watching wide-eyed. The argument escalated, voices rising like the storm outside. Sophia accused me of hoarding, Marco defended her weakly, Mom mediated tearfully. "You survived cancer alone," Sophia spat. "Now you make us beg?" I stood firm, voice trembling. "I survived because I had to. You chose not to help. This money is for good, not bailouts." I left in the rain, heart heavy, doubting my stance. Back home, Alex held me as I cried. "You're not wrong," he soothed. "Boundaries save you." Lila on a video call agreed. They want the easy fix. Make them earn it. I channeled the turmoil into Rosa's warriors, organizing a workshop on family dynamics post-diagnosis. Participants shared stories mirroring mine: neglect, resentment, fragile rebuilds. One woman older than me said, "Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means moving forward on your terms." Inspired, I offered Sophia structured help. Funding for vocational training for Tom, a temporary rental assistance grant through the foundation, not personal cash. "It's what Grandma would want," I wrote in a letter. "Building strength, not dependence." Sophia accepted grudgingly, her thank you terse. Marco, seeing the shift, asked for similar therapy sessions covered. I agreed, seeing glimmers of change. Dad's recovery brought us closer. We walked in the park near their home, his steps slow but steady. "I was wrong, Elena," he admitted one afternoon, bench creaking under us. "Scared of losing you, so I hid." His vulnerability cracked my armor. We talked of Grandma, his regrets as her son. "She saw your heart," he said. "I'm seeing it now." Those moments mended threads, but slowly. Anna's graduation was a high point. I sat in the audience, pride swelling as she crossed the stage. At the party, family gathered, awkward at first, but laughter flowed. Sophia hugged me, whispering, "Thanks for the help." "We're getting back on feet." Marco raised a toast. "To Elena, our warrior." Even Tom nodded appreciation. Mom's eyes shone with hope. But life tested us again. A scan showed a shadow, benign, but the fear resurfaced, a ghost from my cancer days. I confided in Alex first, then called home. This time, they responded. Mom drove up with meals, Dad sent encouraging texts, Sophia checked in daily, Marco offered to mow my lawn. Anna stayed the weekend. Their support, imperfect but present, healed old scars. Rosa's warriors opened the retreat center, a log cabin oasis with trails, yoga pavilions, counseling rooms. The inaugural group included Mia, the mom I'd helped early on. Watching survivors bond, share, heal, I felt Grandma's presence. "This is it," I whispered to her photo. The foundation attracted media, my story going viral. Headlines like, "From Abandonment to Advocacy." Donations surged, expanding our reach. Personally, Alex proposed under the roses, ring simple and perfect. "Let's build our family," he said. I said yes, envisioning a life balanced. Love, purpose, boundaries. Family dynamics evolved. Sophia's family stabilized, her gratitude growing. Marco stayed sober, starting a small business with earned funds. Mom and Dad visited often, our talks deep. Anna clerked at a firm, her ambition inspiring. Yet, I remained vigilant. When Marco hinted at expansion loans, I redirected to grants. Sophia's occasional envy was met with compassion, not concession. Grandma's fortune-funded dreams, scholarships. Research grants, my wedding. A quiet affair with family present. Toasts to resilience. In quiet moments, I reflected on the journey, from diagnosis isolation to inheritance turmoil, legal battles to tentative peace. The money hadn't changed me. It revealed truths, forced growth. I was Elena Ramirez, survivor, advocate, woman who learned to love without losing herself. The melody played on, harmonious at last. The melody of my life, once fragile, had grown into a steady symphony, but like any composition, it carried undertones of unresolved chords. The retreat center for Rosa's warriors stood proud in the Cascades, its log cabins filled with survivors finding solace in shared stories. My wedding to Alex was a quiet triumph, a day of vows under the rose trellis, with Anna as my maid of honor and Mom's empanadas on the menu. Even Marco, now running a small landscaping business, showed up sober, offering a clumsy but heartfelt toast. Sophia's kids ran around, giggling, while she and Tom seemed steadier, their marriage bolstered by therapy I'd funded through the foundation. Dad, his health fragile but stable, squeezed my hand and whispered, "You're like your abuela, unbreakable." Yet, the harmony felt tentative, as if one wrong note could unravel it. The inheritance, while a blessing, remained a silent wedge. I distributed small, structured gifts, education funds for Sophia's kids, a grant for Marco's business startup, medical copays for Dad. But I kept the bulk of Grandma's fortune for Rosa's warriors and my future. Their gratitude, though present, was tinged with unspoken expectations, glances that lingered too long when I mentioned a new project or trip. One winter evening, as snow-dusted Seattle, a call from Mom shattered the calm. "Elena, it's the house. The foundation's cracked, literally. We need major repairs or we'll lose it." Her voice trembled, not just from worry, but shame. "We can't afford it." The estimate was $80,000, a sum that would drain their savings. The plea hung unspoken. Could I help? I sat by the fireplace, Luna purring in my lap, Alex grading papers beside me. "What do you think?" I asked him. He set down his pen, eyes thoughtful. "You've been generous, Elena, but this is your parents' home. It's different from bailing out Marco's schemes or Sophia's lifestyle." He was right, but the decision gnawed at me. Helping felt like slipping back into the role of family fixer. Yet refusing felt like betraying the roots that shaped me. I drove down the next day, the familiar suburb cloaked in snow. The house looked weary, its sagging porch a mirror of my parents' aging faces. Mom showed me the contractor's report, cracks spiderwebbing the foundation, a risk of collapse. Dad, quieter since his heart attack, muttered, "We'll figure it out." But their eyes said otherwise. Over coffee, I laid out a plan. "I'll cover half," I said, $40,000 as a gift. "But you need to budget for the rest, maybe a home equity loan or sell some assets." Mom's face fell, Dad's jaw tightened. "Half," Mom echoed. "Elena, you have so much—" The accusation stung, but I held firm. "I'm helping, Mom, but I'm not a bank. Rosa's warriors needs the rest. People are counting on me." They nodded, reluctant but resigned. Sophia caught wind of it, calling that night. "Half? That's cold, Elena. It's their home." Her tone was sharp, old resentments resurfacing. "You act like you're above us now." I bit back anger, explaining the foundation's work. Hundreds helped, lives saved. "It's not about being above anyone," I said. "It's about balance." She hung up, her silence louder than words. Marco surprised me. He offered to pitch in, using his business contacts to negotiate a lower repair cost. "I owe you," he said, eyes earnest. "Not just money, everything." His growth was real, a slow bloom from rocky soil. Anna, too, stepped up, researching grants for low-income homeowners. Their efforts eased the strain, and the house was saved, though Mom's gratitude came with a hint of bitterness. "We'll pay you back someday." Work consumed me, a welcome distraction. Rosa's Warriors opened a second retreat in Oregon, funded by a grant and donations. I spoke at conferences, my story of survival and advocacy resonating. A documentary crew approached, wanting to feature the foundation. I agreed, but insisted on highlighting the patients, not just me. Mia, now in remission, joined the film, her testimony a mirror of my own. Family failed me, but Rosa's Warriors didn't. Alex and I planned a honeymoon, a delayed trip to Greece, tracing myths and sunlit shores. But a health scare paused it. A routine scan flagged a node in my lung. The fear roared back, as raw as the first diagnosis. Alex held me through the biopsy wait, his calm my anchor. Mom called daily, Sophia sent flowers, Marco dropped off groceries, small acts that meant more than grand gestures. The results came, benign. Relief flooded, but the scare reminded me life's fragility. Back at the retreat, I led a workshop, sharing the scare. Survivors nodded, their own fears reflected. "We're never free of it," one said, "but we live louder because of it." I nodded, thinking of Grandma's words. Live big. Elena, I was. Through the foundation, through love, through boundaries. Family dynamics shifted again. Sophia invited me to her daughter's dance recital, a peace offering. We talked afterward, her tone softer. I was jealous, she admitted. Of you, of Grandma's choice. I'm trying to let it go. I hugged her, feeling the weight of years ease. Marco's business grew. He paid back a small loan I'd forgotten about, a gesture of pride. Anna clerked at a top firm, her visits full of laughter and plans. Mom and Dad hosted a small Christmas, the first in years without tension. We swapped stories, not demands. Dad, frailer now, gave me Grandma's old recipe book, pages yellowed. She'd be proud, he said, voice thick. Mom nodded, her hand on mine. The documentary aired, sparking donations and awareness. Rosa's Warriors became a national name, and I hired more staff, stepping back to focus on design and Alex. We talked kids, adoption maybe, building a family on our terms. But scars, physical and emotional, reminded me of the cost. The inheritance hadn't just given me freedom. It forced me to redefine family, to choose who deserved my heart. I was Elena, warrior, wife, advocate, standing tall in Grandma's shadow, ready for the next verse. The snow had melted into spring, and my garden burst with roses, their petals vibrant against the green of new beginnings. Rosa's Warriors was no longer just a foundation. It was a movement, with retreat centers in 3 states, a staff of dozens, and stories of hope flooding my inbox daily. Alex and I were planning our life, talks of adoption, a home filled with laughter, a future unshadowed by my past. Yet the weight of my family's history lingered, a quiet hum beneath the melody I'd built. Grandma's fortune had given me power, but also a mirror to see who we all truly were. This spring, I'd face the final notes of that song, deciding how it would end. The catalyst came unexpectedly, a letter from Mom, not in her usual hurried scrawl, but typed, deliberate. Elena, we're selling the house. It's too much, repairs, memories, all of it. We want to start fresh, but we need to talk. Please come. No mention of money, just an invitation. My gut twisted with hope and caution. Alex squeezed my hand. Go, he said. Close the circle. I drove to the old suburb, the familiar streets now tinged with change. New families, new paint, but the same oak tree where Grandma told her stories. The house looked tired, boxes stacked in the driveway. Mom greeted me with a hug, her eyes red but warm. Dad, slower now, managed a smile. Sophia and Tom were there, helping pack, their kids sorting toys. Marco, tanned from landscaping work, carried furniture. Anna arrived from her law firm, briefcase in hand, her presence a steady light. We sat in the living room, surrounded by decades of memories, photos, Grandma's old clock, scuffs from childhood games. Mom spoke first. We're moving to a condo, smaller, manageable. But before we do, we owe you the truth. Her voice cracked. We failed you, Elena. During your cancer, we were scared, selfish, lost in our own lives. We don't deserve your forgiveness, but we're asking. Dad nodded, his hands trembling. I hid behind pride. Thought you'd handle it like always. I was wrong. Sophia's eyes glistened. I was jealous of your strength, Grandma's love. I let it blind me. Marco, quieter, added, I was a mess, Elena. You were fighting for your life, and I couldn't face it. I'm sorry. Anna, always my ally, said, I should have done more too. But you showed me what strength is. Their words hit like waves. Raw, heavy, real. I'd waited years for this, yet it felt surreal, like a wound reopening only to heal cleaner. I needed you, I said, voice steady but thick. And you weren't there. That hurt more than the chemo, the scars. But I see you now trying. That matters. Tears fell, not just mine. We talked for hours, unpacking not just boxes, but years of pain. Mom admitted her depression had clouded her. Dad, his fear of illness. Sophia confessed her marriage's strain had made her bitter. Marco, his shame at needing rescues. Anna shared her guilt for staying distant, buried in studies. I told them of my loneliness, the hospital silences, Grandma's journal guiding me. She saw us clearly, I said, passing it around. Her words, Elena is my legacy, brought sobs. The conversation shifted to the future. Mom and Dad wanted simplicity, a condo near Anna. Sophia and Tom were rebuilding, Tom's new job stable, their kids thriving. Marco's business grew, his pride evident. Anna aimed for partnership at her firm. I shared Rose's Warriors' impact. Thousands helped, a fourth retreat planned. Grandma's money isn't just mine, I said. It's saving lives. They didn't ask for more, a first. Instead, Sophia offered, Can we volunteer? For the foundation? Marco nodded. I could landscape the retreats. Mom and Dad suggested cooking for events. Anna proposed pro bono legal help. Their offers, unprompted, felt like a bridge rebuilt. I made a decision. I'll help with the condo down payment, I said. Not as a fix, but a gift. For closure. Mom hugged me. Dad's eyes shone. Sophia smiled, no edge. Marco clapped my shoulder. Anna squeezed my hand. It wasn't about the money. It was about trust, fragile but growing. The next months were a whirlwind of closure and creation. The family moved Mom and Dad. A bittersweet farewell to the house. We saved Grandma's clock, her recipes, her spirit. Rose's Warriors launched its fourth retreat, the documentary airing globally. Donations soaring. Mia, now a counselor, led sessions, her resilience inspiring. I spoke at the UN, advocating for cancer care access, my voice carrying Grandma's strength. Alex and I began adoption papers, dreaming of a child to share our love. One night, under the stars, he said, You've turned pain into purpose, Elena. That's your superpower. I laughed, kissing him, feeling whole. Family became a new rhythm. Sophia volunteered, her kids painting murals at the retreat. Marco's crew landscaped gardens, his laughter lighter. Mom and Dad cooked for fundraisers, their pride in me unspoken but clear. Anna advised on contracts, her visits full of warmth. We weren't perfect. Old habits flared, like Sophia's occasional envy or Marco's impatience. But we talked through it, no longer hiding. A final health scare came. A routine scan, clean, but a reminder to live fully. I traveled to Mexico again, scattering Grandma's ashes in her village, whispering, We're okay now. Back home, I framed her photo beside mine, a survivor's gallery. The inheritance, once a wedge, became a tool for healing, building, loving. Rose's Warriors saved lives. My designs inspired. My family grew closer. I was Elena Ramirez, daughter, sister, wife, warrior. The symphony of my life played on. Not perfect, but beautiful. Its final notes a testament to resilience, love, and the legacy of a woman who saw me when no one else did.